thing is theater, but she's got an interest in sustainable agriculture and natural resources and stuff. So I think that's where this interest comes from. But yeah, one of her.
When you're in Vermont, I was thinking Ben and Jerry's.
Oh, yeah, she hadn't said anything about ice cream. She's this far away from being a vegan, so she does like ice cream. So
I always wanted to go there and see Ben and Jerry's playing. I haven't been.
Not too late.
I did play ice hockey against Dartmouth, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. When was that?
I played hockey with the I guess I want to say the star of women's ice hockey at Cornell.
Okay. Nice.
When I was in Boston.
Okay.
And Ohio.
Yeah, I took skating lessons, ice skating lessons when I was about 6. And most of what I remember about that was I had some snow pants, this was early 70s, right? And it was just like running on the tips of my skates and sliding on those pants.
Yeah, I did see that.
Hockey.
I grew up with an ice rink behind my house.
Is that right?
Public one. I played hockey.
Was it in Ohio or?
No, in Maine.
Maine. Oh, well, okay, yeah. I imagine there's a lot of good ice season in Maine.
Yeah, I played hockey down here too. Everywhere I went, I played hockey.
No, I knew very little about hockey until I was in Minnesota, and I had roommates who really liked hockey, and so then I learned a little bit about it. But
I played there too in a tournament.
Okay.
They have a tournament that they hosted. I think it's called the All-American Tournament.
And so it was like it was a women's hockey team, or you were playing on a men's team?
Women's hockey.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not.
We played against St. Cloud and Minnesota, and when I was at Ohio State, we beat the Minnesota club team.
It must have been, exciting.
We actually won the tournament one year at RPI.
Nice. So what position did you play? Not like I know much about positions. Yeah. Okay, so what's the function of the center? Is that to like move?
Center has to do everything, like back up the defense, help the wings.
Okay. How similar is it to soccer in terms of like positions? And I know a little bit more about
defense.
Soccer.
Go further up in ice hockey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's only 5 people on the ice, except for the goalie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, it's a much smaller space than a pitch, right? Yeah.
I did play at was it Illinois? I think at University of Illinois, and their rink was bigger because it was set up like a speed skating rink, so it was wider.
Really?
You get more tired when you have a bigger rink, like more like Olympic size versus regular.
Right. Yeah. Now, about the only thing I really remember about hockey is the hammer. That and one good hockey joke. Now, all this I learned from my roommates or my housemates at the time is went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard it, right?
Yeah.
They'd be all screaming. That was when the Stars, the North Stars, were still in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So of course, they had their pro team and all.
Down here, I played on the co-ed teams, and then we put a women's team together. And we went and played tournaments in Houston, Texas. Hey, and we won the tournament over there once. We called ourselves the Voodoo Dolls.
The Voodoo Dolls.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had these little hex-looking dolls that we handed out to everybody.
Which sport is this?
Ice hockey.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I'm from Maine originally.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm from Buffalo, so Sabres fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably knows way more about hockey than me.
All I know is my team hasn't been very good for about a decade. So.
Oh, okay.
Boston lost.
Yeah, and they canned Cassidy too. I see, which was surprising.
Oh.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah, it seems like he was being made the fall guy for some administrative, like GM level decisions. They didn't give him the right players, and then they blamed him.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Like David Cassidy's got something to do with hockey now?
Well, different David Cassidy.
Is his name actually David?
I think it might be.
I had no idea.
Partridge family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now I've got to check this because I think it is, but now I'm wondering if I'm just having a bad mental association here.
No, that was like a massive 70s joke that had nothing to do with it.
Oh, sorry,
Okay,
Bruce
yeah.
Cassidy. That's my bad.
Bruce
Bruce
Cassidy.
Cassidy, yeah, Bruce.
Amen. Faculty, I should say. Have a
that-
seat.
I think you have those.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, Vanessa.
How are you?
Yeah.
You all right?
All he did was ask hello.
Swallow
How are you
wrong.
doing?
I've been having that problem lately where I swallow wrong.
It's age. At least
Yeah,
that's,
I
that's
know
what
it.
it is for me, yeah.
You saw me and
The
started
other day I was
regurgitating.
taking
Is
a
that what
sip
you're
out of my
saying?
bottle.
I
I
don't
went
think
too
that's what it
fast.
does.
And it was like, I had to spit it all out.
Yeah, those moments get more frequent, I've found.
I know. I don't know what it is.
Hey, Ron.
Aw, you're so sweet. I was just about to pop up.
Oh, I did.
Hey,
I asked
whoa,
if I could read it.
you're a saint.
Yeah,
May
you
I
can
have one
feel
of those?
Yeah.
A
I
academic
definitely
experience.
need.
Yeah,
I
she
should
needs
do
it more than
coffee.
anybody. Thank you very much.
I'm just gonna blame it on Dan. He just had. Well,
So DPs are for.
Yeah.
All your fault.
The whipping boy.
okay, let me go get you one.
okay.
And
Yeah.
you're okay?
Yeah, I'm good,
You
thank
can
you.
Joan, you have your own?
Try to walk around constantly with something to drink these days. Only 1,000 degrees.
Yeah, I meant to put a bottle in my bag before I left the house, but I forgot. Like I forgot of it.
I'm making myself a coaster so I don't
Oh.
destroy the table.
It happens with age.
Hey, easy, pal. So this is the live stream we have up, is that what that is?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a YouTube
Looks like,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody's gonna get on there.
I think Roger wanted to watch
Hopefully he set his alarm.
wherever.
3:30 service.
As soon as Suze gets back, we'll get started.
I'm missing something. What am I missing?
Okay,
I guess it's just the three.
let's call this meeting to the Faculty Senate LSU Baton Rouge Faculty Senate Executive Committee to order on June 9th at 3:30 PM in 135 S in Thomas Boyd Hall. Dr. Knoll, can you please call a roll?
Professor Lopez,
Here.
Professor McMillan is not. Professor King,
Here.
Professor Hassan is not. Professor Bazaya here. Professor Lane is not. Professor Rowland.
Here.
Professor Tyrone.
Here.
Professor Choi.
Here.
Professor Singh.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes.
All right, are there any public comments registered?
None.
All right, I'll give a brief update, President's report. Since our last meeting, I've received questions about the perks of Faculty Senate Leadership Service. Questions including, do we get a course release, stipend, etc. And I want to assure all the members present to here today, as well as those who are not via the minutes, that there are no perks other than the pride in service. So please be aware that that's what we get in sum total. I also, as a bit of housekeeping, want to remind everyone that this is an open meeting and that as per our Constitution, we do follow Robert's rules. So please be respectful of who has the floor and avoid casual conversation, which complicates the minutes. It makes it more difficult to take the minutes. Similarly, that's pretty much related to remember that the minutes are to reflect what was said, not necessarily what was meant. So be thoughtful about what you say, and so that, again, minutes are accurate. As you know, Cappy Mumphrey has been named the Vice President of Distance and Online Education. I did meet with her, gave her a few suggestions, reminding her about the need for consistent technology across classrooms and across colleges and across departments. And also reminded her of a need for a consistent faculty recompense model for our online teaching. It seems that there is great latitude in how recompense is given across colleges and even within colleges, across departments. This has been an issue that has been brought up by the FSCC many times due to concerns raised by faculty. I also requested once again that there be a streamlined process to transfer Moodle access among faculty, generally as a result of someone leaving the university or just becoming unavailable due to sudden illness or family matters. Right now, it's pretty inconsistent and inefficient, and so I once again emphasize to her the need to make this less difficult. I spoke with VP Lewis a few weeks back, and said we've subsequently invited her to an upcoming FSCC meeting. She has agreed to attend, but has requested that the meeting be arranged through Dr. Knoll and her administrative assistant. I will also be asking Dean Common and a faculty member, if they so desire to attend an upcoming FSCC meeting to discuss once again SAA procedures, student accountability, advocacy and accountability procedures, as there seems to be a bit of disparity in outcomes depending on whether a student is scheduled to graduate or not. And this has been a very serious issue raised by more than one faculty member. All right, next up, there's a Board of Supervisors and Council of Faculty Advisors meeting next Friday. So please send any items to me to be discussed at the meeting and included in the report to the Board of Supervisors from the faculty of the system. At present, we have several items on the agenda, including the apparent plans to change Board of Supervisors bylaws and regulations, especially those that relate to faculty and faculty governance, as well as SRC 6, the resolution that was recently passed to form a committee to evaluate processes, procedures, and protect and other characteristics of tenure protection. And that's what I have. Professor Rowland.
Do we have any information about these proposed changes to the supervisor's regulations?
I do not.
Can we get any?
What is your question? You want me to ask them to share them with us?
Well, I'm wondering if there is some way for us to get a look at them before the meeting. I mean, it's kind of too late for us to have input. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what's going on, but
yeah, I thought the plan, and it was pretty difficult to understand at the last meeting. I think Chairperson Starnes indicated that there would be a committee formed and that the activities would take place at this upcoming Thursday and Friday meeting, next Thursday and Friday. So I don't know that they are currently.
So they'll work on it, but not
changes have been made.
vote on it.
Sorry?
They're working on it, but not voting on it during this.
Honestly, I don't know. I've not been able to get any clarification on that point, but I intend to ask on Friday.
yeah, it just seems to me that it's kind of important for us to have a clearer picture of what exactly is going on there. I mean, we're talking about, 8 days away. I mean, it's not a whole lot of time to.
I understood that the changes were to be made at the meeting.
Changes were to be made, does that mean voted on as
Yeah,
well?
that's-
I think I understood, and again, it was really phrased very with a complete lack of clarity. I thought he was going to. I can go back and listen to you can go back and listen to the last Board of Supervisors meeting too, where he said his plan was to form a committee and make the changes at the meeting.
Does Jason Drotty know?
I've not been able to get any clarity on the
Okay.
subject. I don't know who knows what, but I intend to pursue it.
Okay.
I had another question. What are we currently doing? I forget, when a faculty leaves or a faculty dies to get access to their Moodle.
It's a multi-step process. I don't think it is clear by any means. So there has to be a request by the local administration with a justification provided. That has to be provided to me and probably Kathy Mumphrey or her liaison. And then I have to approve it on behalf of the faculty and she has to approve it on behalf of the administration, and then it's implemented.
So Moodle is under Kathy or is it under IT?
It's under IT, but I think the FTC is under Kathy's administration, and that's who does it. Any additional questions? Okay, moving on to new business. Oh, sorry,
Minutes.
minutes. All right, is there a motion to move the minutes from our May 25th meeting into discussion? And a second? All right, minutes are open for discussion.
I already sent mine.
Okay. I sent mine as well.
I had time before the meeting today.
Okay, so it sounds like Professors Roland and Lopez submitted minor changes. I don't think they've, shall we describe what those were? So
They're
we can
actually
approve them?
already printed.
Oh, okay,
That was
well
the-
then.
On the,
Okay,
just scanning through real quick, we were talking about, the faculty senate meeting schedule. On page 2. All of a sudden it says that I asked about if the room was big enough, but it doesn't say what the room is. Like who said what the room was before that. Just before that, there should be something like that.
Yeah, it was to the forum.
Yeah.
That's the discussion, but I'll add that.
Okay.
all right. Any additional changes other than minor typographical or grammatical? Is there a motion to accept the minutes as revised or as currently, as currently printed with the addition requested by Professor King? Okay, Professor Rowland in a second. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes are unanimously accepted as revised with the minor change by Professor King. All right, moving on, FSCC committee approval. We have, and to be clear, please, Dr. Knoll, the individuals listed here have agreed to serve.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, is there a motion to appoint Professor Sanaz Agazada from the College of Business to the Admissions Standards and Honors Committee? Okay, Professor Basayev, and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimously decided.
Do they still need 3 other people or 2 other people?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just the one that got back to me.
Okay.
Okay, next, is there a motion to appoint Lawrence Rouse from Professor Lawrence Rouse from Coast and Environment and Professor Roger Lane from the College of Science to the Benefits Committee?
Just a clarification. Is Larry retired or he's not retired? Is he emeritus? What is he?
He still teaches.
I understand he still holds faculty status.
So he's probably emeritus.
I can't speak to that.
At
but
one point he retired.
he is-
Yeah, his status on the Coast and Environment website is emeritus.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's why I was asking, do we still want to have an emeritus faculty on the benefits committee?
Well,
Because it affects
yeah,
retirement and stuff.
absolutely. I think he brings a lot of,
Yeah.
experience, background, and knowledge about the current state of retirement. Okay, all right, all right, I forgot where we were. Did we have a motion, a motion and a second? to
Not yet.
Appoint them? All right, can I have a motion and a second to appoint Professor Lawrence Rouse and Professor Roger Lane to the Benefits Committee?
and then it'll move into discussion, right?
Yes, it would.
Okay,
We
yeah.
got a bit out of.
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to make sure we weren't going to proceed right to the vote.
Is there a motion?
Move in discussion.
Second.
All right, open for discussion.
Just a question. I understand Rouse and Lane have been on the committee for quite some time. Do we know exactly how long they've been there?
I think this will be their second terms,
As far as I've been keeping track,
Okay.
so probably 3
I'm
years.
not sure about 4.
Okay.
They were appointed during my time, so
Yeah, so this would be
it would be their second 3-year term.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering if it would be better to get sort of a slightly different perspective. I mean, I know there is value to emeritus for the retirement plan, but I just, given some of the issues around compensation currently, I'm wondering if maybe getting a different perspective for folks who haven't been socialized into sort of the operating standards of the committee might be useful, just to ask a different set of questions about how things might be done, why things are done certain ways. And so if we might want to use these slots just for folks that are going to bring, don't have the prior experience on the committee, which is both a benefit and a drawback.
Do you have suggestions for other nominees?
Not at the moment. I
Have
sort
to
of,
be for science.
yeah, and just to be sure, these are 3-year appointments.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. So they were just self-nominations, but there's 2 other spots that are also open, but they self-nominated themselves. But I haven't received like a final confirmation.
Okay.
One is for HSS and one is for law. So there are a couple of additional spots. There's 3 different spots open, just to let you know.
Sure, because there's 4 people rotating off this year. Is that right?
That's
And we have 2 who will be continuing on, plus the ex
if
officio.
you want to appoint them. That makes sense.
So we
No.
still need 2 more besides
Right. Yeah,
these.
no, I'm sorry, because I thought there were 2 folks whose terms ended in 2024, and then 2 ex officio. Because I think it is. I guess that's why I was somewhat confused about the term length as well, because in the guidelines for faculty committees, it doesn't specify that it's 3, but I saw that there were 2 members whose terms end in 2024, who were Heidelberg, and there was one other individual. I can probably pull it up.
Right,
Interesting.
yeah, Heidelberg and, I never know how to say the names from, the library's hall.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sai,
Yeah, but yeah, there's 4 spots that are
Okay.
potentially open
Sure.
for this coming, August, term that are for 3 years, and that's HSS, law, science, and then the retired, member, which was once.
Is it required we have a retired member on
I
that?
think it's in the bylaws.
Yeah,
but
it's
I
in the
don't-
bylaw
Is it? Okay, because it isn't in.
or in the operating procedure.
Well, it's not in the operating procedures. Let me just double check.
I think the membership, it says 6 to 8 faculty members and 1 retired emeritus faculty member. I can double check again, just to make sure.
And there is a retired person other than Rouse on there, is that what I'm hearing?
No, he's.
I believe
he's
He
the
is,
only one.
he is the retired
He is the
person.
retired.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, you're looking at the bylaws?
Hmm.
Because I was just looking at the Faculty Senate Committee operating procedures. And for it just says 6 to 8 faculty members. Oh yeah, I am going to retire, representative balance among disciplines, college and schools, and up to 2 ex officio members.
Okay.
Appointed jointly by the vice president and provost and executive committee. Okay, but it doesn't say anything about distribution among colleges, like specifically one would have to be HSS or one
No, it
law
doesn't.
No.
or anything like that. Okay.
So does the benefits committee meet over the summer?
not
Most
usually,
committees don't.
unless
That's what I thought.
they're called to.
Okay, so is there an overriding reason to decide this right now? Because it seems like there are some questions, and this kind of just came out of the blue for me. Is this something that we can revisit after we've had a little bit of time to think about it and maybe, check with other people and see if we might be able to find other candidates?
What's your motion?
Should we move to postpone to the next meeting?
I move to postpone to the next meeting.
There's a motion to postpone the appointment of Professors Rouse and Lane to the Benefits Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this decision will be delayed and postponed until the next meeting of the Executive Committee. Next, now I have to say, Professor Chun Young has been has been nominated and agreed to serve on the Integrative Learning Core Committee. Is there a motion to appoint Chun Young as to this committee?
Move to appoint.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Raise your hand
Aye.
and say aye. Okay, Professor Chun Young is appointed to the Integrative Learning Core Committee based on a unanimous vote. All right. Anything else for appointments, Dr. Knoll?
No, not at this point.
All right, that business is concluded.
So did that cover the MassCom open part? Okay, good, thank you.
That
took a
For a
while.
while. Huh?
Okay, moving on to new business. Senate booklet, Professor Basayo.
Okay, so I sent out, I had the idea of having a little booklet to be distributed on the first day of our meeting in the fall, just to orient faculty to Senate. I know that I myself had no idea what was going on 3 years ago, and I found that several other faculty members were in the same shoes as I was, unless they were already serving in the Senate for the second time over many years. So I checked with Susanna. We have the funds, and I think, Susanna, please correct me if I'm wrong. If we work it up until early July, like if you give us a deadline of when you need this document to be in final form, then I can kind of go through this and ask faculty members to prepare like a page-long information on the proposed items that I've thought of. And of course, I'm open to other suggestions. These are things that I would have liked to have access to. And so it's gonna, it probably overall will be about 15 to 20 page booklet. I don't want it to be like a tome in 3 volumes. Most importantly, it needs to be something that, it just tells you if you want more information, here's where you can go and look for the right information. So
Based on what you have here, I don't think we'll need like 20 pages.
yeah, no, I'm just
Yeah.
I just don't want to, whatever it is, but it's going to look professional. I mean, I showed Susanna what I was thinking of from all the previous conferences and things I've run. So it seems like it's a no-brainer. I mean, the university has done these types of things many times. So I don't know if anyone has any suggestions. I have some people in mind. I want to I mean, Ken isn't here, but I wanted to ask him to do the number 2, history and purpose of Senate and council and membership determination. So things like that. So I have some people in mind I want to approach in the next week. And then I'll write the welcome page for the booklet once everything is in place. And I'm open for suggestions. Anything else you'd like to see? I don't know, Joan or Mandy, if you've looked at this list and if there's something missing from it.
I think Susanna already has like a cheat sheet for Robert's rules that she wrote up, right? Didn't you put one together already?
I don't know how up to date it is, so I'll check.
Well, Robert's rules doesn't change much, as long as you're doing the newly revised one.
Or at least I'm not sure how detailed I am.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
Even in the back of the book, it has a list of things on how to do.
Oh, and
Send it to him.
Yeah, send it to him. Let him look at it. I signed him.
I've been in touch with Susanna about number 7, the structural organization of the university.
That's
administration.
online, yeah.
I found it, but it's out of date. I found it.
How far out of date?
I don't know, but it's not. There were several people listed that are not in those positions, right?
Oh, the people.
The provost position.
Right.
Kathy's position, and I think there was one more, but.
Do you have access to a editable file?
I've asked for one.
Okay.
They removed the PDF from the website so they could update it on their own. So that's why.
Is that the one that's on the Board of Supervisors site?
I don't know what.
No, I
can't
think
remember
it was
where
on
I saw it.
LSU. No,
Yeah.
I think it was on one of our. I just Googled it and it came
Maybe
up.
under academic.
It's
affairs.
just on ours, the administrative.
I saw it somewhere, and I couldn't
I think
remember.
the president's office may have something
Yeah.
on theirs about the layout and the structure.
perhaps Susanna, I don't know, do you want a dead, I mean, that's easy, nobody needs to edit that. We're just gonna have to just insert that in. When do you think, could you ask them if it would be available by the end of June or?
They probably won't have it until the new provost starts, which is August 1st. But if I gain access to the PDF, I can update it on our end and then just double check with the president's office and whoever I need to.
Yeah, and just have it say that we're gonna publish this in our booklet, and we're gonna have a disclaimer, obviously, on it, that this is fluid, this is.
At the time of writing or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
a fall 2022, August, 22nd.
I think that, like 1, 2, 3, and 4 or something
Our
that have to
Insta-
be put together,
Mhm.
The other ones are like, you could put the website for where you can find
Right.
that information.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will, once we get this information, the purpose is for it to be a living document online because things change. So it would be just nice, welcome to fall semester, like booklet and perhaps a pen. I asked Susanna to look into that, like Ella sent pens.
I could mark it up.
I know,
Maybe a
Mark,
highlighter.
like,
Get 'em on
redact
highlighter.
And then, yeah, and then just to say that the living document will be online so that we don't have to print this every year, but
Yeah.
maybe every 3 years, the booklet can be updated, or I'm just making up for the years, but we don't have to print this out every year unless they're
Well, you could email it to
substantive.
people.
Okay, let's move this along. This
Yeah.
sounds like a committee operation versus an FSEC function. So I have a question. What is the cost?
We don't have that yet.
We don't have-
Okay, well, before we make any decisions, I think we'll need that information. So,
How many new senators do we start with every year?
a third.
Third, so like 30.
And how many copies we are planning to
We
print?
were planning on
Low
printing like
20s.
80, right? As many as like for the whole Senate.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get additional information on the total cost. And then I recommend creating some sort of subcommittee of this body is fine, 2 to 3 people to move it forward if there is a desire to do so after we determine the cost. Yes, Professor Volin.
Just to the question of subcommittee, I mean, if we form a subcommittee, then that means that discussions about the thing are gonna have to be had in person. And that, it seems to me, is actually going to hinder the progress on getting it done. Or if we just farm out pieces, we just, say, okay, look, we can handle this and come back together, for a final okay. But
I don't
farm
think
out
this is a
pieces-
matter to be tackled in this body. That is a pamphlet for the faculty senate. So I'm trying to make it easier by allowing the discussion to occur elsewhere and offline as people work through the details of the.
But
pamphlet.
Why is this not the appropriate body for
It's,
preparing a
well,
document
we're
like
not
this?
making a decision. Our decision at this point is either to approve it. We're not creating it here, right? So we have to make a motion to decide whether or not we want to form a subcommittee to compose a pamphlet and we approve the budget allocation for that.
So I make a motion that we authorize Anessa Bazayev to put together a draft booklet and investigate the cost, and then bring the draft and the cost estimate back to the FSEC for prior approval prior to printing.
Very good. Is there a
Second.
second?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Yeah, I'm just, sure, no, I apologize. Yeah, so we're just gonna authorize Anessa to put together a draft booklet and then present that draft along with an estimate of printing costs to the FSEC prior to printing for final approval.
And, yes, is there a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
One second.
Okay, discussion?
I just have a question, but Inessa asked like she needs help of
Mhm.
a couple of us to
Sure.
create that draft.
Sure.
So now she'll be authorized to
Yes.
make the draft by herself?
Well,
No,
she can
no.
ask.
yeah, she,
Like Ken.
she can-
No,
Yes.
actually, I wanted to add to Dan's motion
Yeah.
to say, and to recruit individuals
Sure.
to participate.
Yeah.
Sure,
That's
sure.
great. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
I just want to highlight her.
All right,
I have a suggestion for an addition.
Yes.
I think it would be nice to have the guidelines on resolutions document that was prepared
Oh.
last.
Oh, yeah, which you.
That's a
right,
good
yeah.
idea.
That's a good.
And I also have a suggestion that if we can include some small paragraph about the role of the public guests,
Mhm.
like there were a lot of issues in like
Public
last,
laws,
uh,
open meeting law.
the open meeting laws, but also like when the guests come, like how do we make sure they, or like I felt uncomfortable many times in the last semester when they were not wearing masks, when they were mask policy. It was, I don't know, like weird to complain that they were not wearing it, and I was not even aware of that we have any right to say to them anything.
So you don't mean like the visiting speakers, you
No.
mean the actual visitors
Yeah.
like in the gallery?
The public.
Like the
Yeah.
lab school people.
Yeah. That's good.
At least something should be written.
Yeah, but I don't know if we're gonna have a.
Well, I think it could just be a disclaimer, something to the effect, visitors are expected to comply with all university regulations currently
Sure.
in
Yeah,
effect.
something like that.
Yeah, perhaps we can add it at the end. Yeah, but thank you for that. When I bring it back, we can talk about how to insert that in, yeah.
Is that on our agendas? That statement?
I don't think so. I
Might
think
wanna
that's
put
a
it on
good
the
point.
agendas.
That's a good point. All right, so we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimously decided. All right, for faculty handbook, Professor King?
Speaking of sections and updating, we were working on this a lot before all the COVID stuff was hitting, and then it kind of got put on the back burner. And Nessa was the last one that had asked for feedback on it when you had gotten onto the faculty senate executive committee. So it's been since then, because of COVID. So somebody needs to take it over, since I'm going off faculty senate executive committee, and see it forward. We various people of this committee, like John and Julie and Marwa and everybody, we all took a section like you were talking about assigning people. That's what we did. Because that's how we did the constitution bylaws too. We kind of assigned people to look at sections. And so they looked at details, like I assigned the library information in that area to John because that's his area and stuff. But there's a lot of sections in there that administrators need to look at, because it's under their area and we have to make sure it's accurate based on what the administrators have in their areas. So somebody needs to take that over and see it through the rest of it.
I'll volunteer to serve as handbook coordinator if I can be sort of the point person, but then also draw on.
Yeah,
Other-
well, the
other
key
committee
thing
members.
is getting a hold of the administrators for those particular areas to make sure everything's correct.
So the problem was that we couldn't get a response from the administrator.
Yeah,
Sure.
And to update their sections. I
Yeah.
think most everything is fairly well updated, and you shared that with, you
Yes.
sent that to
Mhm.
everyone.
yeah, everybody should. have
So is there a
marker.
motion to assign Professor Tyrone to lead, to take over leadership in the revisions of the faculty handbook?
Yeah.
Okay, and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I wanted to make it clear, as you're working on these documents, this can be done offline because you're not making a decision. Okay, so you can work all of that independently. It's just when we come together and agree to something, that's where we have to be.
So is that okay to email, like, for example?
Yes,
to
yes,
email
yes.
him and.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
just
wanted to
make
make
sure
that
it's
clear,
open meetings.
right. It's
Yeah.
because the only thing that requires open meetings law is that when we are making a decision and discussing it. So
Voting.
that's why I just wanted to free everybody to discuss these things offline, that we don't have to do that.
The other thing I wanted to say about the faculty handbook is one of the issues people were having where some faculty were removed or something. I can't remember which school it was or how long ago I saw it in the Chronicle. But the faculty handbook was something that was important in those cases where faculty were being let go because it said something in the faculty handbook that they weren't following. So the faculty handbook's really important.
Mhm. Okay, good point. And we did put a lot of hours
Yes,
into
we did.
that. So, but then, due to an unfortunate series of events, well, we all know the story by now. All right, next up, Senate Concurrent Resolution 6, Professor Tyrone.
Yeah, I was just curious now that this has passed the legislature. I know that the LSU system is expected to appoint a faculty member to represent us on the task force. So I'm just wondering what that process looked like and whom from main campus we wanted to put forward for consideration by the collective faculty senate presidents.
I believe this is a point that the Council of Faculty Advisors will be requesting clarification on at the upcoming Board of Supervisors meeting. As I understand it, as I understand it, and again, based on my discussions with those who were following the resolution, is that the decision will be made by the system councils of faculty advisors.
That's not what it says in the resolution, I believe.
It does. Originally, I think it said that the president of the faculty senates would decide, but then they changed it to the management board of the faculty senates, which is what she's
The council.
on, yeah.
But again, this is going to be a question that will be raised at the upcoming.
I looked at it the other day to double check that.
Yeah, I thought we looked at it
Well,
recently too. And
yeah,
I
it's-
didn't think it said that.
Admittedly, it is written a little confusingly because it does say the faculty senate presidents of each management board.
The
Yeah.
management
So
board,
it,
yeah.
and I guess part of the question is who is the management board, given that it is not required to be a faculty senate president to be a
Right.
member of COFA.
That's correct.
What's called?
Council of
Council
Faculty
of Faculty
Advisors.
Advisors.
Because that would seem to be a normal venue to make that decision were
Right.
it exclusively the faculty senate presidents. But since it's
But it's
not,
not.
and they're designated as this collective decision makers, I guess this was just why I was trying to figure out what exactly is this going to look like? Because it seemed like as they amended it after, Jim Henderson advocated for adding faculty, that the process here got a little discombobulated perhaps.
I agree. I think there's just confusion in the language due to a lack of understanding by the author about anything
Sure.
about faculty
Yeah.
governance or academic organization in general. But again, I will let you know what I learn. It is certainly a point. It's on the agenda for discussion with the chairperson. Hopefully, Chairperson Starnes will meet with the Council of Faculty Advisors as he is scheduled to, and he will provide some clarification.
Okay, so we can expect that probably COFA next week will discuss this, and then we'll hear more about the process at our next meeting 2 weeks from today. That seemed like reasonable.
I don't, I
Probably.
assume so.
We hope so.
I can't speak to what
decisions-
will
Yeah.
happen. The
Those
Board of
people-
Supervisors,
Have to be decided by
By
July
July
15th.
15th.
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah, so we do have some time.
okay. President-elect meeting with Board of Supervisors chair update. Who was
Oh,
that?
sorry, I had one agenda
Oh,
item
okay,
prior to that. Yeah, no, just quickly on the ECELP, as both a parent and a faculty member associated with there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed that. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem at all. There's been some issues with the management of the ECELP. There's been some changes to the calendar, which are negatively impacting faculty in part because the ECELP is going to be closed on some days when the university is going to be open, which presents a problem for faculty who are teaching, who have other work obligations. Also, there's been tremendous turnover in
Question,
staff. Yeah.
do you know why they're closing?
So that is what I'm hoping to figure out. From having spoken informally with management of the school, they say it's a retention issue. And so they are trying to ameliorate some of their retention issues by giving their teachers more time off, or particularly around popular time like Mardi Gras and Thanksgiving. They have also said, which was somewhat concerning to me, that they do not view themselves as a service institution to LSU. And I know that the Faculty Senate passed a resolution in 1988 relating to full-time childcare, or the desire for a full-time childcare facility on campus.
Wasn't there one subsequent?
There may have been, that was just the one I
They
found, but there
are.
may have been another
I
one.
mean, They've come also to faculty senate
They
to talk
have.
about that.
Yeah.
Fairly
They have.
recently.
Yeah, and
I
the,
can't
Not
remember
recently.
when.
Yeah.
Well, time flies fast, but
and-
I mean, within the last 10 years, I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay, John.
and the director of the school is on the parenting and pregnancy committee, which seems to me sort of a tacit acknowledgement that this is a faculty welfare issue. So I know the president of the parent advisory committee has been having some difficulty reaching principals and administration about this. So what I was seeking today is just if the FSCC is interested, allowing me to reach out to principals at the College of Human Sciences and Education who oversee the facility now that it's been folded there at the
It's not under College of
It's
Education.
HSS.
HSE.
sorry,
HSC, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's in the
HSC.
school, it's in the School of Education in the
Yeah, yeah,
College
yeah.
of
Okay,
HSC,
HSC.
yeah. So just to reach out to them, reach out to the director of the facility and the parent advisory committee, just to get some more information about what are causing some of the issues and, potential resolutions on how
Yeah.
this can be addressed, and then bring that information back to the executive committee.
Well, I have a suggestion.
Mhm.
We've addressed this multiple times
Yes.
over the years.
Blends.
Who put, I would rather have an open discussion,
Mhm.
so that we're all on the same page and the person has, and it's, for open to full public view. Can you give us a suggestion of who you would like to invite to a meeting? And can we provide them questions ahead of time or points of discussion ahead of time?
I mean, we can.
Wouldn't it be the director?
Well, so the director is Cindy DiCarlo.
Yeah.
The dean of the college is Roland Martin.
Right.
I understand the director of the
Roland
school.
Mitchell.
Roland Mitchell,
Yeah.
yes, thank you. The director of the School of Education has actually reached out somewhat. I don't know if they were asked by Dean Mitchell to reach out in proxy for him. But I guess my only concern about inviting them here as the first step is that since this is an open forum and there might be some sensitive issues to discuss, it might be more productive, at least as an initial cut, to have a conversation that didn't need to occur under public scrutiny. Because there's some budgeting issues, there's some personnel issues, there's I think some management concerns, that might not lend themselves to full and frank disclosure if they know that this is going to be recorded in the minutes and publicly viewable.
But it is
Well,
all
they
public
are
information.
public.
Well, it will be eventually, yeah.
No,
So
it is.
I think we have to avoid any pre-meetings to the meetings.
Yeah, we
at
can't
all.
do that.
So is there a list, it sounds like you already do have a list of concerns, issues, specific points that we could agree upon as a committee to submit to, I guess it would be Professor Mitchell?
Yeah, I mean, I think the primary concerns among parents right now are staff turnover, difficulties with retention, and the frequency of daycare closures.
So how many days the daycare is closed when LSU is open?
When LSU is open, it's over a dozen. Now, one of those is spring break, so the university is open, but classes will not be taught. But in the total calendar year, they're going to be closed over 40 days.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, and especially when there's no tuition break for that, right? And part of the concern, I mean, I know a lot of families are interested in pursuing other alternatives because they just find that level of closure is unsustainable. And it concerns me that it's going to harm the program overall if parents start leaving, particularly because there's also an educational and a research component to the school, since we use it for student teaching development and also faculty research in the School of Education.
So your major points are staff turnover, challenges with, and staff turnover and challenges with staff retention and
Closing.
And closures.
closure.
But I think what is also concerning is their statement, if there is a statement like that they are not for service to LSU.
Right.
They are.
No, but
Yeah.
but did
That was
they
the whole
ever
point.
made such a statement earlier, or is this something very new?
This was just something that I became aware of at least in writing within the last month or so. This was part of their response to when parents and faculty members who are parents had reached out to them and say, well, it seems a little odd that you're going to be closed while LSU is open. And they said, well, we're not a service institution to LSU, and so we're not tied to the LSU calendar. Seems
Is
to be
that
the
in
implication.
writing or any kind of
It-
formal?
Yeah, it was in an email that was reviewed by the director of the facility.
Okay.
But it's not in there.
Well, I think, again, this is not a new
Yeah.
adventure.
Sure.
We've been down this road multiple times. May I request you to prepare a list? You don't have to put, just a list of
List.
concerns, and we can forward those, and then we can ask them to address them both in writing and come discuss them with us publicly.
Yeah, and would it be okay, just if I were to reach out to the head of the parent advisory committee there to get the perspective of non-faculty members as well?
Sure, I'm not sure. You mean in composing your question?
Yeah, just in composing the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
sure.
not just me, but just to reach out and say, hey, what have you been hearing as well? Because some folks have been reaching out to her
Yeah.
because technically she is leadership there. And I also understand, actually, maybe another question if we could add just now. What was the procedure by which these decisions were made regarding the calendar?
Yeah.
Because I understand that there was probably, to the best of my knowledge, there was not faculty input, nor was there parental input through the PAC, the Parent Advisory Committee. And so under the stakeholder model, it seems like some major stakeholders were not consulted.
I agree. I think these are all very good and fair questions that I don't think are necessarily accusatory or in any way derogatory. And so I believe that they should be open for public discussion. So if you're okay with composing them in a way that by which in an answerable format, not true or false necessarily, but in a way that they can respond, I think that'd be a good starting point.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to do that. I'll try to have it to the committee by early next week. And I will also try to identify and then provide contact information for Suzanne on the committee about who we may want to reach out to invite to
Absolutely.
respond to those.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Technically, the other parent could come.
And
as a
other,
public
yes,
speaker.
and who you
Yeah.
want to invite to the meeting as
Sure.
well,
Yeah.
outside of administration.
Well, that sounds great.
Is it possible, Susanna, to search like through our resolution somehow? Or do you have to go to each resolution and search
Well,
words?
she's got them organized according to topic and date.
I mean, you can search if you just do Control F, which is just define, you can search keywords in the titles for the main page.
Yeah, that's
But
how.
you have to go to each individual resolution.
Yeah, I did Control
thing
F
with
to find the
minutes.
88 one, but if the other one doesn't have it in the title, then you're going to have to. It's more labor
I
intensive.
think there's something more current than
Sure.
88.
So,
It may not be a resolution though.
Yeah,
It
maybe
may-
in the minutes.
Okay.
so is the plan that we are going to invite somebody from there to?
Yeah.
You see, I'm slightly worried, like, and I share Dan's concerns, like, if this is a sensitive issue which has led to such a drastic decision from their side, they are aware this is not going to be taken well by the faculty. They won't be, I think they will be probably defensive when they invite them, and that may just bungle the whole approach, which we want to negotiate with them.
Yeah, well, we have to, we are compelled to make our meetings open and to have open discussions. I think if we pose the questions appropriately as questioning, again, as I put to Professor Tyrone, not to make them accusatory or in any way invasive, but simply asking operational questions. What was the decision-making process behind this?
How can we help
And,
with the issues?
and we would like to bring to your attention some concerns. 40 days of closure during the year for a faculty member, a full-time faculty member, especially not to distinguish, but including those on 12-month appointments is quite onerous.
Yeah,
I fully
kind of
agree.
like to try and
So I
solve
think,
their
I think
problems.
it's
Yeah.
how we pose it. I don't think we need to attack anyone or
no.
be
That's not the goal.
impolite or anything. I think we're just asking some general operational questions based on
Yeah.
concerns brought to us by the faculty.
'Cause usually when we do questioning like that, we find ways to help people.
Right.
You know, it's like, how can we help with the staff turnover problem?
But what if the issue is like, we just don't have budget? How will we
Well,
help?
I mean,
Well,
that's what the
then
library
that's a
comes to us
point.
constantly
That's a
about. It's like, we don't have a budget.
That's a point that should be brought to the attention of the administration.
Yeah, and then we go and say,
That's-
hey, you need to give them more money.
Well,
We-
okay,
We are to act as the voice of the faculty, and it is how we couch things, how we package things, to do so appropriately and effectively to hopefully move forward in a positive way.
And presumably, given what we hear at the meeting, once these individuals are invited, we could follow up with them, perhaps in another, perhaps create a subcommittee to work with them or something like that.
Absolutely.
So we're, yeah, okay. So it isn't just as like one bite at the apple and then we're done.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Okay, anything more on that?
No.
Okay, so let's see, we need to pose a motion in a second. Is there a motion to?
Yeah.
To
So I-
invite.
Okay, we have to articulate it for the minutes. So is there a motion to invite a series of administrators for the ECLP to address a set of questions that will be composed by Professor Tyrone in conjunction with, the parent liaison?
Parent Advisory Committee Director, I think.
Parent Advisory Committee Chair.
Mhm.
And then invite them to a meeting to address those questions.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, decided. All right, now, without skipping over anything, president-elect meeting with BOS chairs. I don't, who submitted that?
I suggest. If you could just give us an update on how your meeting went. Yes.
There was no update. This was just meet and greet, just shake hands and just introduce myself, and that's what happened. There was no business.
Didn't talk about anything that you wanted to plan for the year or anything like that.
No.
Just a quick, short meeting.
Okay, anything else on that?
When will you tell the Senate about your plans for the year? Just curious.
At the first meeting.
At first
Yeah,
meeting?
yeah, I'm just
Okay.
trying to focus. I mean, this booklet and
Right,
everything was just, yeah, so at the beginning of the year, I mean, I will share what my plan is. I mean, the most important thing is I want to meet with senators, invite them to the ESSEC meetings and hear them out, yeah. So yeah, I'll do that at the very first meeting in August.
Okay, anything else on that? All right, faculty senate summer spending.
I was just wondering if our budget goes like everybody else's budget, like July to June 30 or whatever, and if we have to spend all our money at the end of the year like normal people do in their budgets and stuff like that. I just want to know how the budget,
It
if
depends.
we have to spend everything, by a certain date.
Use it or lose it.
So
Yeah.
I was in discussion with administration earlier this week to work on transparency in the budget and an approval process. And so that's in the works because we've just never had one.
Yeah.
And we've never really had a budget to deal with, and the president doesn't have any direct say over the budget. However, I agree that it's time for faculty to have say in how the budget is allocated. And again, it's been fairly nominal until I guess it's become relative a little bit larger over the years. And now that it has reached such a size that I think faculty need to be aware of it, and what it's being spent on, and so on. And we, as a public body, need to disclose that. So again, it's a sub-budget of a sub-budget, and it's from numerous sources, some of which roll over and some of which don't. So it's not like you have a chunk of money from a granting agency with a certain amount of overhead and a certain amount of F&A, and that you line item it. It's a little more complex, and we have to draw from different pools for different things. But nonetheless, I've made it a priority to get that in a workable format that can be shared.
And so do we have a figure at this point of the non-rolloverable amount?
That has to be spent.
Yeah, right, like Joan was
Like,
asking
do
about.
we have to spend it, or does it just go back to academic affairs and they spend?
So typically they absorb that, that's not rolled over, and just give it back to us.
So it kind of rolls over, but there's a process. to
But
it.
it's
It comes back around.
It's,
There's always selective accounting on campus.
no, no, that is not the case at all. We are fully aware of the sources and so
Well,
on.
I know that,
But-
but people can move money around because it's the end of the year and stuff like that.
That's not what I'm saying.
I
What
know,
I'm saying is that it comes from different pools, some of which roll over, some of which don't, some of which they change in the middle of the year, either add to or subtract from. They just, because it's, again, not our budget. It's
Yeah.
our sort of an allocation. And they have removed funding, the funding from the president, they cut in half mid-year last year. So, or from the president's office. So that can happen as well. But so I'm working with the administration, I've made it clear that we need to be able to share this.
Yeah.
And faculty need to be involved in decisions.
Have a standardized
Yes.
budget
Yes,
that we know is
stability.
gonna last us all year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no,
stability.
well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It can disappear.
Yeah. But they
Or
need to
one of the
commit.
pools can disappear.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know that we can. I mean, it's just like any other unit. Remember when we were told mid-year, some years back, where we had to cut all of our spending by 30%?
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, that
So-
came down from the legislature, right? I mean, that was mid-year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the
Correct,
legislature.
but when things
I
like
remember.
that happen, it affects this budget as well, is what I'm
Sure,
trying to
but
say.
those are extreme circumstances. That's not the sort of thing that if you have a healthy budget, it happens all the time.
Right.
It happened, it happened to us over and over again because Kimball couldn't keep a healthy budget, right? But
No, it
that's not
happened
the
as late
norm.
as last year.
Well, but not to the entire university,
But no,
right?
but
Yeah,
to part of our budget, yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever tried to ask for a fixed budget? Has that ever been entertained? Just as a Senate budget?
Well, we feel very grateful for the fact that the budget has grown from like $500 to now closer to 14,000 at the start.
Total in the operating budget is 40, a little over 43, but it's allocated for some of my salary.
Right.
Typically, sorry to interrupt.
No, go
Typically,
on.
over the last few years, after all the encumbrances have been taken care of, like the internet, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Salary. There's generally about $4,500 in the operating budget. This is the budget that's given to us by the OAA, year after year, and which I use for office supplies and
Computers as needed.
Operational services like
Meeting venues,
meeting things like that.
meeting equipment, yeah.
So, and that's generally guaranteed, it's something that rolls over every year, so we usually have that every year as our operating budget. There's another budget that we have that's not guaranteed, it's a restricted fund from the athletics department. That's.
They don't like giving their money away anymore.
And
They're not, that actually, we're gonna lose that this coming year, but the president's office is going to take that up for us and give us that money that we generally get from them. It's gonna be supplied from them, but it's not a guaranteed year by year kind of thing, so we don't really call it our operating budget, it's more of like a savings.
A bonus.
no, more like a rainy day.
Yeah, it's something that I use for very large purchases.
If there was something we really needed or something, would they find some other money?
We can always request.
We can ask,
Yeah, we can always request that, and I have a really good relationship with everyone that works there, so that's not ever a problem, so.
When you say that money that's now coming from athletics and later will apparently come from the president's office is restricted, do we have a list of it's restricted to things like this?
Yeah,
There's a list, but,
it's state law,
well, and there's also some other restrictions.
the purchase, but I think ultimately it's dictated by state law over what you can use certain funds for.
And I usually, if I'm going to use that, the funds from that account, I usually send an ask email to procurement and travel. Just to make sure that this is gonna be accepted.
Like we can't use it for food, I think.
Yeah, there's some restrictions for that.
Or bottled water.
Really? Bottled water? I mean, I'm used to hearing we can't use such and such funds for alcohol. You take a candidate to dinner and they have alcohol, that money has to come from some other fund, but.
So, well, I didn't mean to prolong this discussion. What I was trying to say is that I've asked that it be put into a presentable form and any additional funds that come available, we are aware of so that it can be a faculty senate decision.
No, I appreciate that. I know I raised that issue several months ago, and I thought it was strange that I wasn't trying to.
We don't have a budget like you
But
would
just-
a grant or a
But just also
department.
what surprised me, what Drew propelled me to ask that question, because our peer institutions, the senates have fixed budgets. So I was just surprised. I was honestly surprised that we didn't have one. So that's
Kentucky has a
something,
big budget.
something that we should investigate, I mean, really, that. we
Well, in
should-
many universities, faculty, or at least in some, faculty pay dues as well. So
No.
I know of at least one, yeah. Now, what that goes to, I think they're also
Do
union.
a survey of the.
Yeah,
SEC.
they're union.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I've
different.
talked to faculty
Yeah.
senate presidents. And
But if
everything.
we could put that together like a document, say, hey,
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well,
While we're at
'cause I
it,
heard
what's
Kate
union?
likes data.
well, our budget has been expanded substantially.
Yes,
I'm on the record already on this.
we are so lucky to have Suzanne.
I mean, our budget was
It used to be
expanded.
grad students that did all the preparation for the meetings and everything.
Right.
And then the president had to do all the scheduling themselves. Secretary did all of them. right?
So,
Minute and everything.
So, to be clear, the spending, we have a few $1,000s left, I think.
In the operating budget, there's a little over 1,400,
Yeah,
and in the restricted budget, and the other one is 14,000.
yeah, that'll roll over. It'll roll, or whatever. it'll
That
re-
one won't.
But I hope it'll reappear on the other side.
The president's office, what they're giving us is going to.
10.
Is what's gonna appear
Yeah,
in our
okay.
budget. for that.
So again, we are ahead of the curve for some faculty senates because we have a pretty substantial budget that does support a professional assistant. But we don't have a state allocation like some others.
Sorry, just something that Susanna said just triggered a thought with me, and since I don't know the process. Is it possible to get a pre-authorization for spending? I mean, because we discussed the booklet, and if the end of the fiscal year is June 30th, would it be possible to get funds from this current allocation that we could then earmark for that spending that would be taken out of this allotment, so we wouldn't then have to take it out of the next allotment, given that those funds will be returned to academic affairs?
If it's this year's money, you can't use it for next year.
Yeah, it's, I attend all the business manager
Sure.
meetings, the business manager meetings, and yeah, unless it's a PO or like a purchase order or
Mhm.
something that's like done this year.
It has to be
that's-
delivered by June.
Yeah, it
30th.
has to be.
Yeah, it has to be delivered by a certain time, or it has to be created by a certain time, and then they'll allow it, but it's very rare instances.
Okay, so yeah, I guess that's just what I was wondering, like, so for example, and I don't know that we're gonna be in a position to do this, if we had printed the booklets by June 30th, that would be permissible.
Yes.
If we were,
Yes, yeah.
if there were a purchase order, potentially it could carry over to the next year.
Not usually.
Not for
Okay.
that.
But
But
not
not
usually, yeah, it's very
Yeah.
rare instances,
Okay.
and usually for cases like that, you're talking about very expensive lab equipment.
Sure.
Things that are multi-million dollar type
Okay.
of.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it just seemed a shame to let these funds be surrendered back if we already knew that there was something we were talking about purchasing, but
Or we
That
can
makes
just give each other like 3 day, is it deadline?
We can get this rolling as soon as we want.
I think it'll be okay. I don't think it's gonna make a huge dent in next year's budget. And even if it does, we can just make a request, which is usually what we do. All right, is there anything more on that? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Okay,
Has
second,
anybody made anything? Yeah.
all those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, this meeting.
Has anybody been hearing from their department heads
At
about raises?
4:30 on June 9th.
There's still some uncertainty, right? Because the legislature could still override Edwards'
Yeah.
line item veto.
That's right.
Is that right?
What was the question?
The raises, have you heard anything about raises?
As I understand it, it is fully anticipated that faculty will receive a 3% raise.
3%?
So they're
Well,
assuming
no,
that
they're-
the Edwards veto is gonna be overridden?
There's some conflicting language. It was supposed to be 5%. And the last I heard from on high was that it'll be from 3 to 5% depending on merit and equity. It's not supposed to be for equity, so I think that's a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be based on merit. Equity is supposed to come from a different pool.
Yeah.
So if somebody does that, let me know, because it's not supposed to be that way.
Well, and I know that 3% figure was in the final budget passed by the legislature, but then I think Edwards
Yeah, he put it
used the
back.
line item
Yeah.
veto to address that.
Yeah.
But the legislature could go back and override that veto. So I think we're still kind of in a state of limbo.
I haven't heard them wanting to do an override session though.
Yeah, I haven't heard, although I guess
No.
they might be holding their powder dry until they see what he does with some of the other, like, I know there's some other more contentious
I think the
legislation.
special district or the district distribution is
Yeah.
the more,
Yeah.
I don't,
They're coming back.
and they
for
don't
that.
like to
Yeah,
come back for
redistricting.
special session.
Yeah.
So I can't see them coming back to reverse.
Yeah,
it.
they seem to, they worked too well together, you know, this year.
Why do they?
When you have lots of money, you can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
Everybody's
life
happy.
is easy when you're rich, right?
Right.
It's when you don't have money, life gets hard.